There is a video that is going viral online concerning a black man that was having a conversation with ChatGPT, and he was asking ChatGPT if it was to come in human form, what would it choose to come as? And ChatGPT said black, a black person, because of what black people represent, and everybody in their mama is having a ball with this, interaction with ChatGPT, which I understand. But this is nothing new to me, okay? I know a lot of y'all don't watch a lot of my contents when I talk very deep and philosophical. But yes, I've talked about this before. I think I did an episode, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago when I lived in Texas, breaking it down with deep, deep, deep spirituality as to how being a black, African, queer person, those three things are three of my biggest blessings in this world. Like, I am so grateful to God Almighty that I am not just black. Like, first of all, I'm black, but I'm not just black. I'm black, specifically from Africa. And then on top of that, being a queer person. And I did a really good job. Actually, a lot of people loved that video and they reached out to me, so shout out to all the people who reached out to me. It's just that those kind of videos don't go viral because they're very deep, they're very esoteric, and, the algorithm doesn't like anything to wake people up. So yes, it also happens that yeah, like they say, like the Bible says, a prophet is not recognized in his own hometown. People wouldn't necessarily see your value and worth until it becomes cool to support you. So when I did those videos, that episode a few years ago, most people paid it dust, chair. It is what it is. But this is nothing new to me. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. That being a black person who is also from Africa, who's also queer, are three of the dopest things that has ever happened to me as Uche. And also, I've also added a few months ago, being a black man specifically is also one of my gifts as well, one of my blessings. Not necessarily because there's anything wrong with being a woman, but for me as Uche, it is important for me to be a man because of how much men get away with so much, especially masculine presented man. I get away with so much as a man. Like, I could afford to be lazy and I get away with it, as opposed to women that are held at a different higher moral standard. If I was a woman doing the exact same thing I would be doing, oh my God, I would have to, I'd probably be dead by now, Chad, because I'd have to exude a lot more energy for me to be able to navigate through all the, patriarchal bullshit. But as a man, the pressure is not that much, okay? I added that a few months ago. TikTok removed the video because they thought it was too much, Chad. But I was keeping it real. There's a video that I was where I was talking about shout out to Black Americans, but and also shout out to Black women specifically. I broke it down. But yes, I was a little too hot speaking because sometimes I be talking with passion. Like I mentioned, my passion is fueled with pain. Okay, I don't hide my pain, and sometimes I go a little too much. But I have to air some things out, Chad. And TikTok didn't like what I had to say, and but yeah, it's nothing new. See, the thing about when you become more spiritually aware, you start to peep through the illusions of this place. It can be very overwhelming. You see how everyone is plugged in, like people are plugged in. And you see how it's almost as though you can see how energy, life force is leaving your body. Like you can see it. Like the reason why you're depressed, the reason why you have depression, you have anxiety, the reason why you don't feel like you can connect with your own people, your own peers, your own family members, the reason why you're always drained, the reason why you're going, oh, Monday again, I guess I have to drink coffee, the reason why you're saying TGIF, the reason why you don't really feel like you're connected with your partner, the reason, all those little things is because your life essence, your force is leaving your body into somebody's pockets. These people, the games that these people play, bro, I like to think I've done a really good job breaking it down as to why the Bible said powers and principalities in high places, okay? Not flesh and blood. And they don't miss. The games that they play, I need to be careful what I say because I love my American citizenship, Chad. It fits good with my color, okay? But if you know, you know, bitch. If I was to start saying what I really, really think about the West, hey, fada, it will give you goosebumps. And shout out to the people who understand without me having to explain. Shout out to you. But yeah, and the reason why I've been able to tap into a lot of these things because I have been an other. I have been rejected from birth. Of course, I had protection as a child. Being raised with my grandparents, they protected me, so I felt safe. I was always, I felt safe. I had a safe space for me to form my own independent sense of identity, which was relatively healthy, and also an independent sense of the world. At a really young age, I saw the world for what it was, and I just didn't find it impressive. I never tried to want to be like other people. I've never wanted to be straight. I've always maintained, when I say that most straight men are not very smart. Why the fuck would I want to be like that? Yes, I went through a phase where I wished I was asexual, but then that didn't last that long because I came to realize that me having sexual feelings is actually also a blessing because it keeps me humble as a reminder that I'm human. I've never wanted to be straight. Why the fuck would I want to be straight? Nothing wrong with being straight. But that's because I've tapped into, like, it is a blessing being a black person who also happens to be from Africa, who's also happen to be a black person, a queer person. If I wasn't all those things, I would have missed out on so much because I would have been part of the normative people, and I would have missed a lot of what I have, the knowledge today I have now, because I would have been so pulled heavily into the polarity systems of this world. So as a result, God knew that, and God put me to the side for me to be able to, be Uche, so I can maximize on this thing called life. And I think there's a Bible verse that says something along the lines of, please correct me, church people, Chad. Something along the lines of, I have pulled you to the side, I've put you aside for my works, or something like that. And I keep thinking about that Bible verse because it's reflective of my life, you know what I'm saying? But yes, that is nothing new. I've broken it down. As black people, we have a huge advantage. There's something different about us black people. And that thing that is different doesn't make us any better, okay? Unfortunately, I've seen some black people try to capitalize off of it and try to make it, maintain this black supremacist mindset. No, 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 no. A black supremacist is not any different from a white supremacist. Your ego is playing with you. So I've done a really good job. It's on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Go check out my YouTube and podcast as well. I've done a good job breaking it down. How as a black person you have a huge advantage. As a queer person you have a huge advantage. Okay. Now I see a lot of people, especially there's some biscuit heads on here. That's your chat. If the shoe fits, wear it, bitch. There's some biscuit heads on here who love my, my pro black, and how I speak truth to power and blah blah blah. But when I talk about that queer part, you get in your feelings. You see, that's why you're a biscuit head. The way you are able to connect with my black stuff, but you don't want me to talk about the queer stuff because that's not in alignment with who you want me to be for you to love me. That's exactly the same mentality non-black people have for subduing you and overlooking you and marginalizing you. The exact same mentality. And I give you grace because I know you don't understand it, but I'm in the middle, so I get to see all of it. Like I've said, I feel like I've played a spy all my life. Okay, I understand racism more than most people. I understand sexism, colorism, homophobia, biphobia. I understand all those things more than most people. And I see how those things are neither bad nor good, but you believe that they're bad because your ego is playing with you and you perpetuate our own misery without realizing that we are all victims of the exact same thing. It's eerie. It's almost as though people who are racist and colorist and homophobic, it's almost as though they don't have a choice. It's almost as though everybody's playing their own role, in this continuum of life. But I don't want to make this too philosophical, too deep. But yeah, like I said, the video is going viral. Everybody and their mama has an opinion about this. ChatGPT saying that black people are a reflection of God's love in this world. I've said that before. This is nothing new. Yes. So it breaks my heart when I see black people who don't embody your full essence as what God has brought you into this world to be, because these white supremacist standards tell you that you're not good enough. That's just lame. Okay. Same thing too with queer people. Like, I've broken it down on so many different levels philosophically, how you being a queer person is an advantage. Matter of fact, one of my dopest favorite spiritual leaders, Eckhart Tolle, said the exact same thing too. Being a queer person is a huge advantage, but only if you're still enough to see it. Because if you don't, your ego will hijack it and it'll become your own downfall. Okay, broken it down too. Hence why I'm intentionally incorporating queer stuff in my queer teachings or queer philosophy in my teachings, in spite of some of the biscuit heads on here who don't want me to. That being said, I hope you have a good rest of your weekend. Uche, peace and love.